Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. This is Tuesday. Am I correct? The 30th
It's,
of
it's
July.
all day long.
What do you
It's
know?
Tuesday all day long.
Are you happy today?
I couldn't be happier. What about you?
It's warm. It is hot outside, man. Okay.
Yeah.
I have to
We
ask you.
finally got some rain though. It's been excruciating hot, but no rain. We finally got some rain last week.
Oh man, yeah, last couple of days. Last night it rained like crazy here. It was awesome. Here, let me do our little welcome note. Welcome. Hang on. Hi, everybody. I'm typing. I tend to type backwards more than forwards. 2 strokes back, 1 step forward. Here we go. And next, one, point. Bink. Bang. There we go. All right. So I got a question for you. Are you an Olympics guy? Do you watch the Olympics?
Some, yes. It's I'm not a big soccer fan, I'll admit.
Me.
So anything, a lot of stuff when I've been turning on Olympics, it's just been like soccer and field hockey, and I'm like, why am I seeing all this? But yeah, I like the track and field. I like the Simone Biles, like a Simone Biles get in there and did that 16 backflip. Nobody else has ever done that before, and I'm like, you have to slow this thing down before I even see her, right? She's spinning so fast. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
been pretty amazing.
I've been. I'm into every Olympics. I'm into the swimming and the gymnastics, women's and men's, but more the women's. I don't know why. But this year, something has clicked in my head. I'm part of the Caitlin Clark effect. I am into basketball this year. I'm into it, and
Yeah.
you got women's basketball. They have slightly different rules, and men's Olympics, and it's awesome. So I'm into it this year. It's kind of fun. I'm having fun. Ooh, look at this. We got a new, how about that? Show the comments window. Software gets updates. I get surprised. Here we go. You know what time it is? Wait, did you golf? Have you golfed?
I did play some golf this weekend. Got to play, and then it rained a little bit Sunday, but still played in the rain. It's no different. You're sweating to death anyways. It's like virtually no difference playing in the rain or 100-degree heat. You're still sweating. It's like you're wet as you can get.
It's just
So,
dampness.
yeah.
Cool. I know what time it is. Do you know what time it is? Here it
I
comes.
know what time.
Here we go. Rodney with Pip. Bing. There we go.
There we go. Look at this chart. It looks crazy, doesn't it? I wanted to show this year
Wow.
review today because it's been a minute since we have hit this low, this spot down here in October of last year. The rates dipped down right before the end of the year and then just crept back up. But since then, you've seen that they've been hanging on pretty steady since the beginning of the year. We got some improvement as they go up. Let me just say that as they get towards the top of the screen, the rates are getting better. So that's why I'm saying this October back here, once we've seen some improvement at the end of last year, it's held on pretty steady since then. So that's a pretty good sign. We're starting to everybody I think starting to agree that the Fed's going to be the Fed will be lowering the interest rates as we starting in September as we kind of come up. So excited about it.
Okay. Ago, and I always say this, it's different case by case basis. What you may qualify for much better rates than the average. That's well above my pay grade. But it's going down, and that's a positive sign. At least I feels like it is. Don't you think?
It is. I mean, they've got to get. They're going to get. They're going to have to get better. As we'll talk about some of these other articles that came up today. You know, the rates are just the rates are a big issue of the affordability crisis that we
Yeah,
have,
yeah,
and that's what's driving some of these numbers of our what we'll talk about later in the show. But it's just continuing the affordability crisis, as I call it.
yeah, yeah. And for anybody that's listening, if you can help us, I'm kind of doing a test on sound, and if Rodney is echoing at all, let me know. I think we fixed it. I'm just putting it out there so that if he's solid and no echo, then I'm not worried about it. But if he is, let me know and I can fix that. So the first article that I want to touch on, and it was I was a little bit shocked, but at the same time, once you think about it, not so much. Even as a professional, I'll tell you this: as the news comes along, I get daily alerts from Google for. I've got a series of alerts set up, and I get a digest of these things, And sometimes headlines will hit me, even as a real estate professional. I'll be like, "Hey, geez, that's not good news." And then you think through, and you kind of figure out what's happening. Well, this one took me by surprise, and this is the first. Oh, sound is good. Yeah. Thank you, Ange. Thank you for that. 56,000 home buyers backed out of deals in the month of June in the United States. 56,000, 15%. Let's go through a little bit of this. And this is by Redfin. Again, I always promote Redfin as their competitor. Yes, they are. But they are just a heck of a good company when it comes to data. I think they're second to none. They really are. And I appreciate them putting out this data for us to use. We're in this together. That's the spirit of realtorship. It's the way it's supposed to be. So here's what they say. Deals to purchase homes are falling through at a record rate as high housing costs give buyers cold feet. Nearly 56,000 home purchase agreements were canceled in June. Now, this is limited to June. This is the month of June year over year. It equals 14.9%. I'm going to call it 15% of homes that went under contract that month, the highest percentage of any June on record. House hunters are having trouble committing. I'm going to change something here. Yeah, there we go. House hunters are having trouble committing because buying a home is more expensive than ever. The median home sale price rose 4% year over year to a record 442 in June. That's across the country. And the average interest rates on a 30-year loan, 30-year mortgage was down to 692. While that's down only slightly from 706 the prior month, it's still more than double all-time low hit during the pandemic. What do you think? Any initial thoughts on that there, Rodney?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of. I was with you. Rarely do I see a headline that's just not sensationalized. It kind of blows my mind. But this one was one of them as well. I was like, wow, that 14.9% of homes were backed out of, and it's crazy. It's like how does all Americans get together like that? 15% of Americans, do that and make these decisions the same month. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot. It's
That's a
kind of
point. That's a
wild.
good point. Yeah. There's nobody out there saying, "Hey, get out when you can." There's
Right.
there's no
They
advertisements promoting that.
right. So I'm anxious to dive in more about what they're saying is the reasoning that they're seeing behind these pullouts. So
And I can tell. Okay, so buyers are getting, and so the article continues. The buyers are getting more and more selective, and that's true. I can tell you a story after Tuesday of next week. I'll tell you stories. Buyers are getting more and more selective. They're backing out due to minor issues because the monthly costs associated with buying a home today are just too high to rationalize not getting everything on their must-have list. Here's not so long ago, a buyer felt the answer. I'm gonna do a sidetrack here, and then we're gonna wait. Did they actually back out, or did financing fall through? The indication seems to be that the majority of them they backed out. Financing falling through is a fairly technical thing, and there's a lot of good faith and there's some legality to it. In other words, if you're going to back out because of financing, it's got to be legit. I mean, it's supposed, it is. But when it comes to inspections, we'll get to that in a second, that's a different deal. So people, not too long ago, and I think you'd agree with this, Rodney, a buyer, if they went under contract with a house, they were like, "Oh, praise the Lord, praise Jesus. We got a house." Yeah, they'd feel really good about that, and that's changed a little bit, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, when buyers are getting more selective, obviously that's selective wasn't a term they used a while back. Selective was what the sellers were doing when they were choosing between 7 contracts. So, yeah. So now that things like, okay, I'm not settling, because Andy, we've been preaching settling, like we're telling home buyers, like if you want to buy a home, you have to move out further. You have to get less of a house and move out further for the same money. So now it looks like I'm not settling anymore. Like if I go through an inspection and there's some stuff I don't want to deal with, or because I bet a lot of this stuff is falling out during inspection, and I ain't saying the inspection's the reason, but they're going to be pulling out because they're writing the contract. So something's got to change between, when they get their insurance quotes, because I've seen a lot of these companies, a lot of these trends were out of the 4 or 5 states, or the biggest state was Florida.
Yes.
So I'm like, once they've seen the cost of ancillary costs like their insurance and things like that, HOA fees maybe, they're causing some issues. But it's wild that a huge number, 56,000 in 1 month, was pulling out, 14 or 15% of all contracts. That's a lot.
That's a lot. Now, when you guys are doing good faith estimates, in the past, you always plugged in a number based on zip code, generally speaking, and the cost of the house for insurance. Isn't that right? You plugged in a percentage?
Thanks for bringing up the term good faith estimate. I think that was back before pre-Dodd-Frank. What do they call them now? Closing cost estimates, not closing cost estimates. The disclosure.
CD?
Yeah. So yeah, you have a closing disclosure now. But anyways, on the estimates, yeah, whenever we're looking at estimates, we're going to pull up, like, a customer's going to say, well, I'm looking in Tampa, Florida. If we even have the address, we'll plug in the exact stuff there. But whenever we do insurance, we're guessing. We're estimating insurance and saying, hey, we're estimating at this cost. You're going to have to call around and get it. We can help you with some names or whatever, but they're going to have to shop for their insurance.
And that's the reason I brought that up, because I know in Florida, that's going to be, and we'll talk about that in just a second. Insurance is huge. It's huge. And I understand, Ange, out in California, and it was a guy I was just talking to, an hour ago, that's coming in from California. He's moving here. We're going to meet with him on the 16th. There's 2 things that's pushing him out. It's insurance for his house. He's having difficulty getting it. Don't know why. And then they're implementing a 30-cent per mile gas tax in California that's not getting voted on. Apparently it's getting written into the law by Newsom. This is hearsay, so somebody could shoot me down. But I'm saying that when you get, I still call good faith estimates because that's just what it was to me. But you plug in a different, the insurance can be, as in the Florida example, could be significantly different if you can get it.
Yes.
Which is,
yeah. I mean, there's several states in our country that, and Angie said it exactly. I think the 7th. I was reading an article. It was like the 7th largest fire on record is going on right now in California or somewhere. How do they rank these things so fast? It's like all of a sudden fires are getting ranked. That's Alaska.
I'm telling you that there's 100 fires in California and the West, I guess, and there's 850 in Canada. 850. it's summer, I guess, and there's no forest management up there. That's not none, but that's what happens if you don't manage a forest. It'll get cleared out one way or the other, and fire's how nature does it. So
Oh
we
yeah.
we constantly have gas tax added. Insurance companies won't insure new buyers, only existing. All right. So when you get started to buy a house, you go under certain assumptions on what it's going to cost. And all of a sudden, something like insurance can pile up pretty quick and make you rethink your decision.
Yeah.
Let's go
Right. I
through.
mean, because you're already facing double the interest rates and exorbitant prices where people done moved up. Uh, housing inflations went up. I mean, your house cost 25% more than it did 3 years ago. So now your rates are higher, and now the insurance is higher. It'll
Yeah.
it's doing it pretty good.
Yeah. Let's go through. I got a couple of charts that's going to cover our faces, which was those in the audience are grateful. So here we go on this. The home prices all-time high in June. It's pretty easy to see why that could concern somebody. All-time in June. We've got buyers backing out. Now, if you look at that chart, it's kind of interesting. The blue scales are just the Junes, and that's why it's comparing just one June to another. So, and the reason June is important as opposed to some of these others is because it's the middle of summer, and when people are buying this time of year, it's 1 minute away from August, and people that are buying homes, especially if they have kids or if they're whatever, if their life is centered around the school year at all, they don't want to mess that up. They want to be able to close their home, move in, and be settled before school starts, and that's a huge majority. Remember, we've talked about people selling because a life event has happened.
Yes.
A majority of the time, kids are going to be involved. New school, big school, change of school, whatever that is. So the reason the June is important is they don't want deals to fall. Usually, if you're in a life event, you don't want it to fall apart. That's why it's important. Okay. So in Orlando, I've got other charts here, but we won't get into that yet. In Orlando, about 900 home purchase agreements were canceled in June, equal to 20.8 of homes that went under contract. 21% in Orlando. We're going to be talking about these guys in a minute, these out-of-state places. The highest percentage among the 50 most populous U.S. metropolitan areas. Next came Jacksonville, Tampa, Las Vegas, and San Antonio. All very near the 20s. That's a lot of cancellations. Keep that in mind. We're seeing nightmare scenarios, might be a little strong. We're seeing nightmare scenarios where deals are getting canceled. Bing. That's right. Deals are getting canceled at the last minute for the most minute reasons. Well, now let me tell you how this can work. Is that for you?
As my
Mine's
golf
turning.
buddies asking, one of my golf buddies asking if any, it's a big group chat. They're asking if anybody's playing golf today.
Mine happens to
No,
be.
I'm not playing today.
Too hot, sweaty. Where was I? Oh, with all these cancellations, from a professional's standpoint, popular guy, from a real estate professional, realtor's side, here's the deal. When you're buying a house, the inspection contingencies, at least in Tennessee, I can only speak to Tennessee. I don't know anything about anywhere else except I bet there's some similarities. If you don't like something in an inspection, you have the choice to buy the house as is. You can ask them to fix it, or you can terminate. Generally, it's going to be one of those three. There might be another option someplace, but I don't think so. There might be. If somebody, when they talk about getting cold feet, you'd think like, well, you can't just cancel it. No, you can't just cancel it. As far as I'm concerned, I don't taught that. But generally, you can terminate it. Because there's no, in our contract in Tennessee, if you were to look at a house, if you're looking at houses now and you go underneath the house in the crawl space and there's a foundation stair step crack and it's bowing in and it's wet, you might you might think twice about that place because that's a big deal. But that scores the same in the contract as I want to say a cracked light switch plate.
Yes.
it it
Yeah.
scores the same. And this happened 10 years ago, so I don't think anybody can hang me for it. I had a story time. I need to get story time music. In 2012, I had a house. It was $2.1 million under contract. It was under contract. And the buyer decided that they didn't want it. And they didn't want it. And so they said, how do we get out of this thing? And it was pretty minor stuff.
Yeah.
And they were, I wonder if this is dangerous. I don't think so. I think it's all above board. So they threatened us, and I could even tell you the agent's name. You probably know who it is. She comes at us with a hook and tongs, and I mean, she's going to sue it. But had nothing to hang her hat on. You know, it was an inspection. We didn't like X, Y, and Z, and we're out of here. Give us our earnest money back, our $50,000. So when people cancel, again, I want to say that's not really cancel, but you can terminate, at least in Tennessee. And it's happened 59,000 times. And apparently the word has gotten out. So,
Yeah. You know, the comment at the end of that, it says they're backing out due to minor issues because maybe not because of the issues, but what it's causing, because the monthly costs associated with buying a home today are just too high to rationalize not getting everything on their must-have list, right? So it's not necessarily that the inspection, it's that, well, now that it's costing me a little extra, it's already costing me a fortune. I'm just not doing it. Like,
correct.
I want it
And that's
moving
what I'm,
ready, you know, or whatever it is. It's adding to. It's not necessarily that they can't deal with that. It's just adding to the cost that they're already fit. They're already at level 50 on their cost. They can't, you know, they went up on their cost 5 times of what they were supposed to. Their payments higher. They're paying more for it. So when any little thing comes up, you know, they're coming out because they're already at the top of the haystack, or however you want to describe it. They're already at their wits' end of this whole process.
and rarely, and this has been my experience because honest to goodness, I've seen it. When somebody gets to the point of I can't take it anymore, it's very rarely a factual circumstance that's causing that. It's all up in their head. You know, I'm going to be buying this house, and then I'm going to be having to like clean the gutters and stuff. And they start to spin up this panicky, and I'm going to have to change the hot water heater filter. Wait, there is none. And I'm going to have to change the AC filter. Yes, there is one.
Yeah.
You know, it's all up in here. You know?
It would just be a totally different mindset if they were going in and they had a 3.5% rate, and they were, you know, and the insurance was still affordable, or still, it wasn't a 40% increase over what it had been last year or whatever. So yeah, it's just, when affordability is at the top of everybody's mind, you come in and you'll be like, oh, there's a crack in the driveway, I'm out of here. You know?
That scares me. Are those expensive? Depends on who you ask, you know?
Yeah.
Here's another thing that happens. You know, I guess this could be story time because if I cross the line someplace, Rodney, I'm counting on you because once I get rolling, damn the torpedoes. Here's one of the things that happens with new buyers. Now, let me see if I can't find this. Here, this is going to be a good one. Bing. 19.8%. 19.8% of homes for sale in June had a price cut. That's huge. Let me show you something else. I think I've got this. Bear with me here. Price cuts, homes sold. Where is it? Bear with me. Oh, come on. Bear with me. Can you sing? You can sing, can't you, Ron?
I can, but I only do it on Sundays.
Here we go. Here we go. I'm going to show this. Bing, bing. What these are the this is the housing demand. 19% of homes with price drops. That's plus 5% year over year. Is that a big deal? Yes, it is. And I'll tell you, one of the things, and again, if you're ever one of my clients, I'm telling you some of the tricks of the trade. When somebody goes under contract with a house, let's say that we've looked at 10 houses or 2 houses, whatever the number is, and somebody decided that's the house, let's put a contract on it. I mean, and typically the way it comes is, here's how it happens. What do we do next? That's the question you'll get. And you know pretty soon you're going to be writing a contract, generally speaking. Now, once you get under contract and you go into the inspection period, that's the, hang on, little white knuckle going on, because things can switch quickly with a home inspection. The first thing that I do as a professional is I turn off the auto search for new homes for buyers. It's like write a contract, switch that off. Because the second we write a contract, they're going to get an auto search for a house that's similar to theirs that they'll fall in love with for different reasons. And all of a sudden they're looking for, reasons to change. Have you heard that technique?
No, but it makes sense. Obviously I'm on the other side, but no, it makes total sense that somebody, you better not send them anything after they're under a contract unless you're really good at getting out of them and getting into a new one.
Which it's pretty easy. It's a 1 signature notification form. Bang, zoom, bye, see you. But 19% of homes are getting price cuts. It's telling you the market's slowing down. Buyers are slowing down because all of a sudden we've got Jay, as Phil and Wendy would remind me, it's not Jerry, it's Jay. Jay has got this cut coming in September. Everybody's built that in, and buyers are like, maybe we can get that same house a little cheaper this fall. Would you agree with that?
Yes, it's. I will agree. I will say this is that we may be in a flux of a market that I have no clue what's going on. I mean, you almost have to look very localized and very recent to figure out what this market's doing, because some of these things in this article are saying the craziest stuff you'd ever heard. One is about how many people are backing out of contracts. You just talked about price cuts. I don't want to ruin your thing, but you're going to get down here and then you're going to be talking about sold 70 in San Jose, 72% sold above listing price. So it's like, what planet are we on right now? I mean, I do know this. I know affordability is awful. And just because of this rate cut in September, that 92% or 99% of the public think is going to happen, or probability it's going to happen, it's not going to be enough to move the needle. We're still going to need to be in the mid to high fives before we see some traction moving. Before home sales actually get into a higher gear.
Right. And I think, Ange, that's Rodney's answer to your question. But am I correct on that, Rod?
Yeah, I think now I think you've got a couple things going on. One, we're finally getting some inventory in. You're finally getting some people that can negotiate their sales price like we've been talking about. And now you see that they're walking away in record numbers because it just isn't perfect. And to me, it's like, I agree with your situation. Like it's it's a mental situation. It's really not necessarily the electrical issue that may cost $1,000. It's just that they have to fix something and they're already tapped out. They're just tapped out mentally. They're tapped out financially.
Yep.
And I think that they're just like, hey, I'm having to buy at this time. Rates are coming down. It may be, let's just wait. Like,
Isn't
let's just wait.
isn't that an interesting? I find that to be an interesting psychological study. Not that I break it down quite that much, but think about this. Not so long ago, people were willing to pay 10 and 20 and 25 ridiculous amounts of money over what was being asked just to get the house, just to
Right.
get the key. And now that being humans, we see that there's a chance that prices could be going down. Prices are up, so that's already
Mhm.
scary. I get that. But I have to say, from not being an insider, but looking from the outside, to wait kind of makes sense, because here's what you see. Okay, the Fed is going to cut rates. That means generally that interest rates are going to go down. So that's going to make the house a little bit cheaper. And nobody in our sphere is saying that home prices are skyrocketing anymore. So you're not in a hurry to get in a house before it goes up another 20 grand. That's not happening anymore. So there is a certain thread of logic that and I'm not saying do this, but I understand the logic of waiting around because prices aren't going up very much and rates might be coming down.
Yes, I agree 1,000,000%, except when it comes to, especially in the first time home buyer market.
Yeah,
It's
yep.
like they still have, I don't think they've recovered from, they haven't entered the market. They were kicked out of the market. And they're not going to get in this market either, by flooding this market with these high rates. So, I think it all will have to get back, into a reasonable, but it's different. See, when you mentioned the paying the high exorbitant prices that everybody paid a few years ago,
Yes.
they were stealing it because they were getting money at 3.5%, 4% or whatever it was. So you can make that bad decision. You can make, I don't want to say a bad decision, but you can make a decision that's a little aggressive and paying something for something when you're financing at record lows. Like now, you don't want to pay that exorbitant price with an exorbitant interest rate.
Yeah.
And so that's why they're saying, like, hey, if I'm going to buy this house, it better be perfect, like better than
Because
perfect.
I don't have the money I don't want to spend more money. I may have the money, but I don't want to spend it for new carpeting or AC or God knows
Yeah,
what.
right.
Because it's,
They're already maxed out mentally. So I mean, so I get it.
I get it. And you know what? Here's what's kind of funny. I go to Reddit just to read what real people are thinking about real estate. It's just Reddit is really kind of an interesting thing. You have to watch yourself. There's a little craziness goes on in there, but as many houses as we've sold, and I'm going to bring up your car comparison again. For you, buying a car online is okay because for you, there's just not that much that can go wrong with it. You get in, you drive it. If it breaks, you get it fixed. That's pretty much it.
That's
At least
it.
that's the way I'm interpreting what you're doing with that. Housing is the same way. I have rarely, if I don't think I've ever sold a house to somebody where down the road they went, this thing fell apart. They just don't.
Right.
There's not that many moving parts to a house outside the roof where you can get a leak, tough to chase, and AC. They're just, when foundations come along, that's when you actually do get out of the contract. But
Yeah.
people talk about $1,500 in maintenance for a house. What? I no.
Yeah. Well, if you have a huge house somewhere, and you're in it 7 years, and then want to replace, I think I replaced 15 doors in my house with those big metal doors
Yep.
at crazy prices per door. So
Yep. Yep.
yeah, I mean, you can do it stuff like that, but not generally. I mean, your maintenance is pretty minimal,
And that's what I'm talking
unless
about.
you get a big older house or something. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that the water bill for that dentist guy place up at Princeton Hills is probably $2,500 a month. Just to water his lawn. That one that's just beautiful at Christmas. You know what I'm talking about?
Well,
It's okay. It's a
I
beautiful house.
sodded my yard I sodded my yard when I moved in, and my water. I'll tell you a funny story. My water bill was $800 for that month to
Really
water the sod.
nice,
Um,
nice, nice.
within a month or so, I had a well. I dug a well. I had a well put in. So my
Sweet.
irrigation now runs on a well. I'm like, it's the greatest thing I ever did.
And you got a well with a pump and the whole bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I got a well and pump for, I mean, yeah, my yard stays green all year round, and the utility people can come around all they want to and put us on water restrictions. I can run the wave pool out of mine if I want to.
When I lived in Colorado, I love these side drives. When I lived in Colorado, we were on 5 acres out in the country. And, if you're in town, you're used to like city water and city sewer, and you're used to everybody kind of taking care of it. If there's a problem, hey, there's a problem. I mean, you're used to that, right? Well, you move out in the country, you're on your own. You got your pump and you got your septic. For 22 years we lived there, never had a problem.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
We just kept things clean and didn't abuse stuff, and we had a good life. And our water was free except for the electricity to get it to the house, so.
Yeah. Yeah. See, it's the only thing I use the city water for everything else. Just the only thing I have as well is just I got a tap outside and that runs my sprinkler system. But at $800 a month, I couldn't afford water. I mean, you kidding me? I was like, I can't.
The truth was you couldn't afford the lawn. That was
Yeah.
Wasn't the water. You could have stopped watering the lawn.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go.
Yeah, my neighbors try to tap in a couple times on me, and I'm like, no can do. I'm like, I ain't letting y'all in on my well.
They come over bringing you a cake. There's water involved.
Yeah.
All right. So let's just kind of finish up on this thing. I think this was an interesting deal. The June 2024 housing market highlights the United States. And I think this is just interesting because here's what Rodney said, and he's way smarter than me, is we have no idea what's going to happen next. So the median home sale price in June was $442,000. This is in the United States. Homes sold seasonally adjusted, 417,000 in June. Total homes for sale, seasonally adjusted, 1.6. Normally, I'm not going to guess. The month supply, 2.6. That's not terribly high.
Right.
That's reasonably quick, reasonable. The median days on market's 32 days. It was up 3 days from last year. The share of for sale homes with a price drop, 20%. I'm telling you that's a big deal. And the reason that's a big deal is in order for a price drop to take place for a seller, the house has got to be on the market for a minute. Now, some listing agents will say after a week, we got to drop it or I'm not working with you. And that's really the way you should run things. But most of the time, the sellers are calling the shots. I'm just telling you that's what usually happens. Yes, sir. No, sir. And then after 30 days, though, they have to be forced into pricing to lowering their price. The share of homes sold above, 35%, June, 35% sold above the final list price. What does that tell you? They priced it right and they had competition. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. It's simple. Terry DeSalms, priced a little bit better in a little bit better condition. It'll sell first, fast, and for the most money. That's it. Average sale to final list price ratio, 99.9. That's pretty good. There's a ratio that I saw the other day that there's a difference between average sale to final list from the beginning price and the lowered price. Those are different ratios. Pretty interesting, really, actually. Pending sales that fell out of contract, 15%. All I'm saying is when you have that many, think about this. when you have that many that sold over ask and that many that bailed, it's kind of hard for me. I don't know what to tell you the market's doing.
It's local, man. I mean, it is local. Like that San Jose market, 72 sold above their final list price. I mean,
Yeah.
that's crazy. And then where the one above it, close home sales, they rose. So it's local and it's crazy right now.
Yep.
And if you want to throw up Angie's comments, like, are basically, if the rates are lower, will people buy or wait till spring? I think everybody is waiting. I wouldn't have said that a month ago, but I think with these crazy numbers, I think people are waiting now, especially since the Fed announced that they're going to take it lower in September. But they were waiting to begin with, Andy. You know what I'm saying? Yes. One price cut's not going to get us. Let's say that everybody's right in predictions, and they say it's going to take 5.75 for people to start moving.
Correct. Yes.
At a significant pace. So one rate cut's not going to get us there, anyways. So now that they're talking about rate cuts, it will spawn a wait like you've never seen before. It's coming, and everybody will be waiing.
It'll be a tsunami of inaction.
A tsunami of waiting, and I love it. I've talked to so many of my past clients, and they're calling. We're talking about reefer numbers, and they're like, "Well, I just don't know when to do it," and I'm like, is 3.5 bad? Like. You're saving like $400 a month today and cutting 2 years off your loan. I'm like, this is a great deal. Like, but you'll have people who wait trying to get time it and stuff like that, which is very difficult to do in our industry.
Plus, and to pile on your idea, so the market, I mean, Jay Powell has not said that there's going to cut rates, but it's those hints that it makes it pretty clear. You could, unless something traumatic happens, something really whacked, that's what's going to happen. And what's amazing to me is if you look outside the borders, and I don't mean to be cute, trite, or anything else, there's a lot of stuff going on, and the market is acting like it's okay. We're just rolling along, and there's a bunch of stuff going on, Anyway, so he's indicating he's going to lower it. Where I've already seen tons of headlines where these heavy lift executives are saying, I think there's going to be 3 rate cuts. Well, how can you do that by the end of the year? Is that they even have that many meetings? Maybe.
I don't know. They're so close to their future projections of being, inflation and everything. I don't know why they're not lowering on this meeting, but September seemed to be the thing everybody's stuck to, and whatever it's 99.7% chance it's going to happen, or they think it's going to happen, but who knows?
So here we go. I want to touch on something that we don't normally do, but I really need to pay more attention to this. The next thing I saw in this, and I think I sent you a separate email with this because it's, I don't know if you were able to pull up the article about investors regretting the purchases.
I did. I read that, yeah.
Okay. Since the beginning of the year, fewer investors appear to be jumping on the market, because I was reading this morning where somebody was thinking, this is what they claimed, and I think it's in comments someplace, that BlackRock and companies like that bought up 20% of the inventory for housing across the country. And remember, a few months ago, there was an article, and it was like 4%. I mean?
Yeah.
People have this idea that they're just running these big, huge swaths of purchases across neighborhoods and decimating everybody. And it's a lot for one person or one company, but the market's big, and it's not 20%. But anyway, So real estate investors piled into the housing market when interest rates fell to historic lows, basically free money during the pandemic, and they remained a major force to the end of 23, purchasing a record share of houses in the fourth quarter. However, new reports on investor activity appear to paint a different picture, one where cash buyers account for fewer home purchases, good for home buyers, this is good, and overall investor purchases have declined. Good for home buyers, mom and pop meaning families, it's good, and that's part of the reason perhaps inventory has increased a little. Would that be reasonable to assume that?
But I think in these kind of investors, mostly the investors are always like 15 to 20% of our market anyways, right? Of the
Yeah.
overall market all the time. So the investors slowing down, it's like to me, should have been the first ones to slow down because they got a rent roll. They're investing this to make money. They're not
Yeah.
investing this for me and you or a regular person that's going to buy and live in this, and it meets our debt ratios and all that stuff. These people are buying these houses to make money. So
Correct.
yeah, I mean, when affordability is at its worst in American history, I mean, I could have wrote this article.
Yeah. Well, and it says right here that the call me wrong, but there's another interpretation. Investor activity is noticeably down. Investors accounted for 23% of single-family home purchases in June, which represent a 5% drop from January. Most notably, CoreLogic, big company, reports this is the lowest percentage of investor purchases in 2 years. So they're kind of getting out, but it's all relative. The average share of investor purchases prior to the pandemic was just 17%. So they were just jumping in with the free money thing, the free money frenzy, I would call it, But it says here. Go ahead.
I just think, a lot of the investors is jumping on the VRBO stuff and
Oh yeah.
Just buying everything and renting it out, and that sort of thing. So, but yeah, when prices and rates go up so much, it makes these things unaffordable to even rent. So yeah, it takes away the
Sparkle.
use. It's no reason for an investor to buy it if they're not going to make money.
Right. Plus, there's a little bit more of the story, and I'll finish this way. Some investors are regretting their purchases. Shifting investor sentiment could be contributing to the decline in the activity. And remember, when we're talking about investors, I think this is what the percentage was. The lion's share of investors is mom and pop, husband and wife. It's not these big corporations. They're big, but they're the ones that's what it was. The lion's share of the investors we're talking about are just like people we know, just mom and pop. But they're saying that in a survey of 764 real estate investors, and that's a decent sampling, the majority have regrets about their investments. Half complained about issues of bad tenants, imagine, or serious property damage caused by tenants. Yeah, I can imagine. More than half indicated they've had to evict a tenant. I'm not laughing. There was this guy that I knew. He was an investor. I got to tell you this one story. His name was Earl Nelson. He was a fabulous guy. He was fabulous. And he decided that he was going to buy homes up near the Diesel College here on out Gallatin Boulevard. Diesel College, right? I don't even know if it's still there. I bet it is. But what he did is there's a bunch of streets up there. I wish I could remember some of the names, but you'd recognize them. And they're smaller, what we used to call back in Colorado, cracker box houses. They're just, small square little houses, and they probably had 3 bedrooms in there, but they'd always have a living room and stuff. Well, what Earl did is he bought one month in June, he bought 10 of those houses. There was a guy, I enjoyed his company. He bought 10 of those houses, and he rented out each room to college kids. And that was his business model, and we'd talk and he'd say, let's sell this house. It's not doing what I want. And then he would tell me the stories that for some reason there are houses that people would move into them, and he'd have to go up in the middle of the night and throw him out
Yes.
physically.
Yeah.
He was one of those, grab him by the collar and the belt and out you go. So when I read this article, I was like, Earl Nelson, I remember that guy. I'm going to pull up something here. You're going to like this. Wow, we burned through our time. Residential real estate statistics. I thought this was pretty interesting. And I think that I sent you the separate website for that. 41% of residential real estate investors report they make more income from real estate investing now than a year ago. Only 14 report making less. The median amount long-term rental owners raise rent on their tenants each year or each renewal is 10%. What have we been telling people about when they rent?
Yep.
Guaranteed money's going up. Nearly all real estate investors say they lost money on an investment at some point. You got to be brave to be an investor, it seems like. 40% of respondents say they wish they had never started investing in residential real estate. Definitely not BlackRock. Almost half of investors admit a bad investment has almost ruined them financially. Now that's scary stuff.
That's a big number.
That's 45%. You got to have courage to do that. I'm telling you. About 61% of landlords say they have to track down missed rent payments. That's a tough way to make a living. 4 in 10 real estate investors, I won't do all of these, but I just thought these are intriguing. 4 in 10 real estate investors deal with maintenance issues or repairs at least once a week. Wow. Roughly 80% of residential real estate investors invest more than one type of residential real estate investment, with the top options being traditional long-term, land for future development, okay, blah, blah. 2/3 of investors would consider properties with squatters, foundation issues. Oh, no kidding. 67% would consider properties with squatters. Bet they're going to get that property at a discount. What do you think?
That's all this sounds like the worst thing in the world to me.
Oh,
I like real estate, and I have a couple investment properties actually, but they're managed. I can't take a call and deal with this stuff. That's the difference between me, but the most successful real estate investors do it like our favorite folks on the show, Wendy and Phil. They manage it themselves. They work it. They do a lot. They do a lot to them. Like, I'm never going to do repairs, but if you could do all that stuff, I've seen a lot of very successful investors.
100%. The thing, I think what interested me in that is, it seems to me that for real estate investors, just like Wendy and Phil, and I'm going to say everybody else, there's professional mom and pop, and then there's, I think, people thinking house flipping on HGTV looks fun group,
Well, and I remember a few years ago, me and some folks here at the office, we were talking about, it was just like, it was almost like a pandemic of people buying rental properties that with no experience. Like, people just ran, almost, I tell you what, Fannie Mae, they did it so much, Fannie Mae's come out with some rules about, if you don't own a primary residence, of things, how you can count your rental income. Because people were buying rentals before they were buying primaries.
Absolutely. Angie's got an interesting question here, and I was saving this, but I'm gonna give it away now. We won't be able to talk about it because I didn't send it to you, but I'll do a screen share. Angie said, I figured they'd be persuaded, meaning the Fed, to do more rate cuts before the election. I think the Fed does a pretty good job of keeping that separate. However, that's not to say that the White House, and this is not disrespectful, is not immune to sending out messages. Let me pop something open for you. And I'll actually leave the link. I'll leave the link to this so anybody that watches this can. I think this will work. It's quite a long link, but this is from the White House. Bing, bang. And we're gonna major new actions. This one it came out July 16th. And major new actions to lower housing costs by limited rent increase and building more homes. And if you read through this article, which is, it is lengthy, the White House is trying to do stuff to make you think that we've got our fingers on the pulse of housing, and we're trying to fix it in the midst of a real. I just say this for me. It just has kind of been a train wreck, you know. But there's the link, so you can read through that if you want.
I'd rather read through that. It'd be like wasting. If you ever wanted to waste your time, you read that.
Because I mean,
it's not recommended reading from Rodney Wilds. That right there is a waste your time reading. Anything from the White House right now is a joke. I hate saying it, but it is. I mean, it really is.
It's not on Rocky. And we could have a new segment, Rodney's recommended reading.
Yes. I'll tell you I'm voting for later if you want.
I wonder who. So I think, anyway, so we've got, I think that the wrap up to this thing, what a good show today. Thank you, Rodney. You're just excellent with this. It makes sense that people want to save money on the largest purchase for most of us that they'll ever make. That makes sense. $56,000, that's a lot. I wonder, it's going to be interesting to see what the drop off. Rodney's strike list, yes. It'll be interesting to see. That'd be an interesting metric to keep eyes on, how many contracts are canceled per month. You know, because maybe June, what happened in June? They said they basically, isn't that when Jay said the rate was coming? They're going to be the cut? Something happened. Or was that July? God, it's almost August.
Jesus. I can't tell. We're at the end of July. I think it may have been in July, early July. They were talking about September.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason that happened. You know, it seems like a fairly big number. Yes. So we'll keep an eye on that. Any last thoughts, Rodney?
You know, so reading some of this stuff, it keeps me kind of looking at our own numbers and numbers around here. But this is kind of following up on something you say all the time. We're local. If you're looking, like, is it time to wait? Is it time to buy? These answers, it's different. Like the time to buy, I don't know if you would call it time to buy in San Jose is now, because it's 72% going over asking prices, but it doesn't sound like the prices are going down in that area.
Right.
But I think you just need to talk to your real estate professional and your mortgage guy to see if it makes sense for your area right now to buy or not buy. Because I've been promoting buying for all this year, but I'm slowing it down right now because if the prices are not increasing like they have been, mm-hmm. It is not the best time to buy. Like if our prices stay flat and the rates are coming down, then waiting may be the best option for somebody. But so far it's been, the prices have been going up so fast that even though your rates are terrible, it's still better than take the bad rate today and not pay $60,000 for the house less today than you would next year.
Yeah.
So, but now that factor may not be there if the prices are not going up in your area.
Yeah. And I'd have to say, for anybody that's getting ready to, on a human level, I can tell you that when you're getting ready to buy a house, it's a big deal. It's a big mental shift going from, I mean, because this is how the process goes. Husband and wife, whatever the circumstance part is, will start looking at houses and they'll start getting excited. They haven't committed to buying, but they start getting excited about it. And they can find a house they really like. And that's what motivates every time. What motivates somebody to get pre-qualified is they find something, I would love to live there. You know, it washes away the questions for 2.5 minutes and they get a hold of a lender that they start talking to about buying a house.
Yeah.
My advice, because I mean, I was telling this to Rodney, what Terry used to teach, it still does. If you want to, if you're an agent and you have a seller that is having trouble getting off the schneid, you know, they're just sort of hanging around. The way you get them to get ready to sell a house is you go help them find a house of their dreams. And as soon as the seller goes out and goes, I like that house, then the house they're living in turns into this, I can't wait to get out of here. You know, I mean, it's just motivation. You know, we need to cut the price. Okay, no problem. Let's get that other house. You know, the reason I bring that up is that buying a house is an emotional thing. But if you're going to buy a house, or, you know, you really think about it, please think it through, play the tape all the way through. How's it going to end up? Because if you get into buying a house and you go through the inspections, and it's not terribly expensive to go through that process, but it's not free, you know?
Right.
And there's a lot of people's time involved when you're getting pre-qualified. That's time from the lender. You're working with your agent. It's time for them. It's time for you. It's emotional. You're in the middle of buying this house and you want to back out and you spent $1,000 or whatever, you know, on inspections. Choose carefully when you're going to move forward and get good advice from more than one person so that you can be confident. You know, I would say don't go on Reddit.
Or believe everybody on Reddit. There's 3 good people on Reddit I seen the other day.
You, me, and Ange.
and 200,000 crazy ones.
200,000 crazy ones. Anyway, that was fun. Did you tell me if you had any extra thoughts?
No, that was it. I went into the one last thought took about 7 minutes, so I'm going to shut my mouth on that one.
No, you're not. You are such a privilege to work with. Rodney, thank you very much. Ange, so glad you're here. Always fun. If you're interested, look up that White House thing. It's kind of an interesting read. That's their vote for me thing. Anyway, I don't want to get political. I can't thank you enough, Rodney. Ange, thanks a lot. I believe that Wendy is on a plane. Phil, if you're hiding out there someplace, love you, man. You're the best. Rodney, thank you for everything.
Enjoyed it, buddy. Thank you.
Okay. See you next week.
See ya.